in an article you pointed out that the country is laden with debts due to obtaining loans inefficiently since 2005. Many are aware of this, but what real reason were these loans obtained?
When Mahinda Rajapaksa president handed over the government to Maithripala and Ranil Wickremesinghe, the state debt has raised to 8,000 billion. Then they gave a loan, I think 390 million for Mattala Airport. Then again a conference hall in Hambantota. Then cricket stadium in Surewava. Then Nelum Pokuna. Then Nelum Kuluna. Then Norochole. Out of which that the only useful project is Norochole.
Welcome everyone, you're watching Conversations with Alanki. April 21st, 2021 marks 2 years since one of the most tragic incidents in the recent history of Sri Lanka. The Easter Sunday bombings targeting innocent people and children in leading hotels and churches throughout the country left the people of the nation broken and devastated. 2 years later, we assume that we might have answers, but do we? Today, I will be in conversation with the former Justice Minister, Member of Parliament, Dr Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe, President's Counsel. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
So, there are many things I'd like to discuss with you, but firstly, let's talk about the Easter attacks. You were the first politician to actually warn of the imminent threat that Sri Lanka would face due to the terrorism and the spread of extremism. How did you really get to know about this?
That was on 18th of November 2016, exactly 2 years and 5 months before this tragic incident took place. I warned the government, I alarmed the nation that there is a threat of this nature. Terrorist group, those who are trained in the ISIS organization in Syria. At that time, I mentioned that there had been around 32 people connected to 4 families, and they were waiting for a chance to make this country a bloodbath. Also, that I disclosed the fact that there had been over 500 preachers who had come to Sri Lanka on tourist visa, and they were preaching not Islam, they were preaching Wahhabism in most of the madrasa schools in many areas. From the day that I revealed this information, there had been a scathing attack on me, especially by the Muslim political leaders, those who were basically in the parliament as well as outside, also Muslim journalists, and also some of the Sinhala political leaders like the Minister Rajitha Senaratne, who held a press conference within 1 or 2 days' time and gave the assurance to the nation that there is no single ISIS funded, though ISIS trained or Wahhabism attacker or extremists in Sri Lanka. And also he gave assurance to the country that there hasn't been a single preacher who had come to Sri Lanka to preach on Wahhabism. Then until that bombs were blasted on Easter Sunday in 2019, in fact that I was treated as a racist, and I was like almost the terrorist in this country. That was one of the reasons as to why the previous government was compelled to remove me, sack me from the cabinet. There was a group of Muslim ministers and members in the parliament who were continuously pressurizing the Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe at that time, unless that I am removed from the cabinet, that they will have to take a decision as to whether that they will remain in the government or not. Also, that they threaten Ranil Wickremesinghe unless that I am removed from the cabinet, that in the future elections that he won't be able to get a single Muslim vote. Therefore, that he also had no option. He was waiting till an opportunity to do it. When there was an agreement adopted by the cabinet, that is to hand over Hambantota port to Chinese government based company, then on that basis I was removed on 23rd of August 2017. But the core issue was the revelation of this uh, the heinous attack by those barbarous terrorists.
How did you come to get to know about this, that there was such a threat?
I have revealed all these informations to the Special Presidential Commission. I gave, I think, evidence more than 8 hours on 2 occasions. All those details are there.
And it's interesting to note that the Presidential Commission of Inquiry has issued only 65 volumes of the Easter attack report. And they stated that the rest cannot be issued because it contained sensitive information pertaining to national security. What are your views on this?
I cannot exactly say anything about that except for the fact that I also got only that volume 1. All the members of parliament were given only volume 1. I have read the whole report, the volume 1. Sensitive information means I believe that it can't be any finding about this terrorist attack.
Right.
What I understand is that it may be some of the information with regard to the intelligence of the state. That is what I believe, because there can't be any other sensitive information to hide or not to disclose.
Right. And also, you were one of the first to actually reveal that there was such a threat, and many seem to have turned a blind eye. And also,
Not many, all.
almost all.
The government and opposition, everybody.
The Cardinal says that if the perpetrators of the Easter bombings are not brought to justice, he will not hesitate to seek international judicial assistance. What are your views on this?
I think that there is an obligation cast upon the government before we take anything to the international community or international intervention to take measures to apprehend all those who are responsible for this crime. I hope that the government might do it, because government also was waiting until this report is issued. But on the part of His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, we cannot oppose to any of his moves, because that all the people, especially the Catholic community, is not only the Catholic community, even the communities, the Sinhalese, Buddhists, and that community is also waiting until His Eminence is taking some lead role to punish for those who were responsible for this crime.
Also, Dr. Wijeyadasa, I would like to know, there were several commissions prior to the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, and which have now been removed. And now they have a commission for political victimization. What really is the purpose of this?
That, of course, the president appointed that commission just to probe into as to whether that there had been some abuse of judicial powers or the administration of justice in the previous government, and in the event that there had been a person who had been victimized as a result of the political decisions taken in the previous government. President wanted to have a recommendation as to how that those things to be, injustices to be remedied.
But there were also complaints of political victimization prior to 2015.
It is throughout in our history since 1970. This is the one of the cancerous thing happening in our country. You can recall Even J.R. Jayawardene introduced the Special Presidential Commission in 1978 purely for the purpose of victimizing Mrs. Bandaranayake and to remove her civic rights, which they did. Now, after 43 years, now again that there had been a similar commission appointed that is based on that Justice Upali Aberatna's commission report. But of course, with regard to that recommendations of Upali Aberatna Commission, I must say that they have exceeded their powers, and apparently they have not understood what the warrant that had been given to them. What I see is that in fact that itself, now they say that in the former administration, some politicians have abused the powers and they have taken some political revenges. It looks that even this commission has done the same thing.
Don't you think that having such a commission for political victimization undermines the independence of the judiciary?
Absolutely, that people had some confidence in these commissions. After the issuance of this particular commission report, the people have lost that also. Not that Easter Sunday one, about the political victimization one. And the other thing is that it is not fair. I have seen in most of the people, those who are talking to the media, had put that Easter Sunday report also into the basket of that political victimization report basket. I don't think that you should compare that one, because in this report, the Easter Sunday report, that there are a lot of valuable information as well as valuable recommendations. But at the same time, we'll have to consider that there are missing links, and commissioners also have considered it. Therefore, that they have given some recommendation on certain issues that they cannot come to a conclusion. For that one, you must get the law enforcing authorities, especially the police and CID, to probe into those matters and to implement the law against them.
But do you feel that it undermines the independence of the judiciary?
Which one?
The having a commission for political victimization?
That is, of course, yes. No, we cannot blame for appointing a commission. In fact, that if there had been a political victimization, that there is no obstruction that the president is empowered to appoint a commission. But my argument is that the commissioners who are appointed should know their boundaries and limitations.
Right.
They don't have that wild-ass freedom to write whatever they want. That's just a report on, according to their whims and fancies. They have just say that you punish so and so. And they say that we cannot punish them, therefore you appoint another commission, special presidential commission, and you must get them to punish them. So what is this?
So there are several
This is ridiculous.
commissions.
It's a ridiculous. That it's like that the Supreme Court or the High Court of Sri Lanka says, we want this man to be hanged, but we have no power to pass a judgment. You appoint another court and get that court to hang this man. So can you do it? That is not the rule of law.
It's definitely not. And I feel that they appoint so many commissions, like you said, and people seem to be losing faith in these commissions as well.
No, that is obvious, because why should you appoint a commission to probe into the Easter Sunday attack? What is the need? Is our police not competent to probe into this kind of crime?
Right.
Are there not any competent police officers to do it? And that is why former president, in fact, we also insisted, former President Maithripala Sirisena appointed that presidential commission. In that presidential commission, of course, that now they have given their recommendations. They'll have to think about what next.
Moving on to the final question. In an article, you pointed out that the country is laden with debts due to obtaining loans inefficiently since 2005. Many are aware of this, but for what real reason were these loans obtained?
Not really one article. I have written over 100 odd articles during last so many years. Even before these loans were taken, that I have alarmed those who were responsible. In fact, when the government was handed over by former President Chandrika Bandaranayake to President-elect Mahinda Rajapakshe in 2005 November, the government debt was 2,160 billion rupees. That is, after the successive governments have done so many projects, including Mahavali, then fighting the war for 2 decades, almost 2 decades. With all that, that was our liability. But when Mahinda Rajapaksa president handed over the government to Maithripala and Ranil Wickremesinghe in January 2015, the state debt has raised to 8,000 billion. Then during that period, we know some of the projects that were launched by that government. The first one was Hambantota Port. In fact, Hambantota Port project was negotiated by President Chandrika Bandaranayake. I myself went to China with a team led by late Foreign Minister Andhra Bandaranayake and the Minister in charge of ports, Minister Mangala Samaravira. Then there was a report, evaluation report done by the feasibility report by an expert of Chinese engineers, and they gave a plan to construct Hambantota Port. And the cost involved was only 390 million US dollars. But during the transition period of the government, it was delayed. When Mahinda Rajapakshe wanted to start that project, the China had already launched there that one route, one belt project, that is just to get the authority in the region. Then I have said very boldly, even in the parliament, by the time that they had changed their mind, they decided to put the Sri Lanka into a debt trap. Then they advised the President Rajapakshe, you should not construct the port, the place that they had pointed out, the natural harbour in Hambantota. They wanted to dig the main land and have the port. Then 390 million quotation was raised up to 580 million. Then again it was raised up to something 800 million. Finally, when the harbour was completed, the government's debt, which had been taken only for that project, 1,400 million. Now, since day one, for that huge investment, that is the highest and biggest investment we have made, no return. Then thereafter, they realized that the government is keen to take loans, especially, that is for the first time the government got a loan on commercial interest rate. At that time, 6.4. Until such time that we had never taken a loan exceeding the interest rate 1.2%. Then, of course, that they continued. They volunteered to give loans to us. Then they gave a loan, I think 390 million for Matale Airport. Then again a conference hall in Hambantota. Then cricket stadium in Suryawewa. Then Nelum Pokuna. Then Nelum Kuluna. Then Norochole. I think over 4,000 billion had been taken for those projects, out of which that the only useful project is Norochole. Now, what happened was when the government was changed, they knew the next government, the government is not in a position to pay the loan installments. Then they forced the government that you will have to give us the Hambantota port. And that is how they grabbed Hambantota port. Now, then the Ranil's government commencing from 2015, there were no means of paying the debts. They just to pay the loans, they got further loans. Now, when they ended up there 5 years, 8,000 billion was raised up to the 13,000 billion. Now, the present government during last 1 year and 4 months period, it has gone up to over 16,000 million now.
And we are in a debt trap.
We are in a debt trap. The Chinese people did it. It was a well-planned idea of the Chinese leaders, and in fact, the Mahinda got trapped in that one. Then all the subsequent government also had to follow it. Now, even at present, that there is nobody is willing to give us a loan. Again, you will have to go behind the China. So long as you get close to the China, that they will in the first place that they are trying to get some control over Sri Lanka. On the other hand, as a result that we have got too much of obligations towards China, that's all the other powerful countries in the world, especially America, India, European Union, and Japan, they have come to one agenda. Now they are trying to fix us. That is why they have already imposed some sanction on Colombo Port City. That is the only project where that we can attract some investment. But that imposing this kind of bans, I don't think that it will be a successful the way that we are thinking.
We have come to the end of the conversation. I do agree with most of what you have said, Dr. Rajapakshe. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having this conversation. I do believe it was very useful for our viewers. As we come to the end, I'd like to thank our clothing sponsor who has come on board for this episode, B Fashion Store. Thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will be back in another week with another episode. Until then, stay safe and take care.